Welcome to the Phoenix Prosperity Podcast, where wealth meets legacy. Join your host, Tim Fergestad, as we explore the journeys of Phoenix's finest to success and beyond.
All right, this is Tim Fergestad. Thank you for joining us today on the Phoenix Prosperity Podcast. I have Domenick Nati, entrepreneur, celebrity interviewer, host of the Domenick Nati Show, whose interviews and viral moments have generated more than 100 million views and featured names like Whoopi Goldberg, Shaquille O'Neal, and Gene Simmons. Welcome to the show, Domenick.
Tim, thank you for having me. It's great to be here.
All right, I appreciate that you're showcasing Scottsdale right now.
South Scottsdale. I'm new in town. I've been here about 3 months, moved to Scottsdale. So I figured, I'm smoking a cigar outside of Fox Cigar, right by all the bars. And I figured, let's just do it outside. Let's show people the city.
Excellent. And we're recording this in May, and it's a little warm for May,
it's warm.
But you seem to be doing all right.
It was 105 today, but it's really dropped down to a cool 99. So, nice. So now I got my button-down shirt on and my jeans because now it's getting chilly, as they say here. Yep.
Right. So, that sun is intense. When it goes down, it gets a lot better.
Yeah. It's just about gone. So,
all right. So let's dive in. You've interviewed hundreds of celebrities, and what sort of separates the people who stay relevant for decades versus the ones who sort of disappear?
I think that it is a willingness and humility to reinvent yourself, to watch what is changing, and to humble yourself to say, what I've done to be relevant for this amount of time is not going to last. I need to make sure that I'm acting appropriately. I'm staying humble. I'm still loved by the fans, and then see what type of content are people interested in me for today. So if you stay a one-trick pony and entertain it, you will be gone. But if you're willing to say, okay, now we've moved in this direction, I'm going to move with it, and and I'm going to partner with people who are up and coming, even though you're the veteran, and that keeps you relevant. A lot of people don't want to do it. They're like, well, I was a big actor in the 80s or 90s, and then they do these documentaries about what a douchebag they are now and how they mistreated people, because they don't want to realize that times have changed and people's viewership and interest changes.
Sure.
And that's a big thing right now, where it's like celebrity gossip is not what it used to be when my show was even more popular. So I have to say,
okay,
well, they don't care. What do they care about? And then you move with it.
Okay. So willing to change and willing to grow as well.
Yes,
that can be scary.
Yeah, it can be, especially for something that worked. It's
right.
Tough to let go of.
Okay, sure. So was there a specific interview or viral moment where you realized that this is kind of becoming bigger than I expected, where it started to really take off?
Yeah, I think that it was just like an addiction, because being viral, I've been making content for 20 years, right? So it's like, I started making videos on MySpace, so, and then I just remember waking up one day, and MySpace used to do this thing where they would do the top 3 videos. And one day I woke up and my inbox was full, and I realized that MySpace had put my video on the homepage as one of the top 3 videos. And I got all these DMs, and I was like, oh my gosh. And then I was like, well, that's really cool. And then it happened again with Facebook, where, they made one of my, they used to do the same thing where, like, today's what's trending. So I think that my video with Shaquille O'Neal, which was 10 years ago now, went viral, and, it was just a kind of a funny moment. And then I think that's where I was like, oh, this is interesting, where I can have a moment with a celebrity, and, we can kind of do it together, because after that, Shaq's people, it was for him. He just made a face at this video I did. I was sneaking in my phone, and he looked down. He's 7'2". I thought I could sneak my phone into this event where you were supposed to take pictures, and he was, more than a head bigger than me. And so he made a face in my video, and then I posted it, and it went viral. And then he actually liked it. He reposted it. ESPN posted it, and then his team reached out to me and said, hey, Shaq said to find the guy that posted that video that made it go viral, because he's got this new business venture coming out. and he wanted you to see if you can promote it. And I was like, that's not like on staff, but just say, hey, send it to that guy since he's
Right.
he seemed to be able to get things to go viral. So the celebrities themselves respect that because they realize I don't have a name like them. So how did he do it? So that was kind of the moment where I was like, we need each other. I really need them for views. And then they also need things to get out there where they're not the one pushing it, So that's kind of where it hit me that we could have something here.
Right. Okay. I was fortunate enough. I got to meet Shaq a few years ago. He was really cool. He was a lot of fun. He's
great. Yeah, he is. Yeah, there's a lot. I've met hundreds of celebrities, and some have disappointed, and some haven't. And they're all individuals. And Shaq is one of those people that lived up to the hype. He's a good dude. Yeah.
Okay. So you mentioned it. Celebrity culture has changed dramatically, really. I think our audience is becoming more authentic and relationship driven, or more sort of addicted to the outrage, right, and controversy stuff, or maybe a little both.
I think that what the difficult thing for me is, and what made me cool, or what made me relevant or have some status, is that I was around a lot of celebrities, and now I have to realize I show all these pictures, and videos to like 21-year-old. And they're like, oh yeah. Like even my son, it's like even my son, his favorite wrestler growing up was Mark Henry. And then I wound up having Mark on my show, and I got him to do a shout out. I was like, oh, my son, his whole childhood, you were his favorite. And then he did this personal message for him, and I showed my son, and he just texts back. He's like, oh, cool. It's like, and he just realized, like, dude,
wow.
And it's not that he's a super sweet kid, but like, he doesn't really care. Like, for me, that would have been unbelievable if, like,
right.
If my favorite, like, if it was Hulk Hogan and me for growing up, it's like, if he said hi to me, you know what I mean, in a video, that would be insane, but it's like, and he just, it's like, because they don't care, because access is not what it used to be,
right.
So it's, and then also people just realize they're just people. They're not even, what's so great about them, so the reality has gotten to a really healthy place. It's made it difficult for me because now I got, it used to just be like, hey, look who I got on the show. You're going to watch it. And it's not like that anymore. So I've had more success with people that you haven't heard of, that give great sound bites or that make you laugh. And they don't really care about the status like they used to. And honestly, we never should have, it's just, I think it's a healthier society when you're just like, yeah.
Okay, interesting. So you've dealt with public figures, branding, PR, and media for years. How much of success is talent versus, I guess, maybe narrative control or framing?
How did you phrase that? How much
success is talent based, right? Versus framing.
That's a hell of a question.
Thank you.
I think that it's not that. It's really not that important, as it used to be. Sadly, I was actually thinking about this on the drive over here. It's just the talent part of it. Now, I used to be a lot more funny when I was younger. I was a lot more entertaining. I was a lot more creative. And then you realize, like, I was thinking about, I was like, wow, I got over 5 million views. I only have 15,000 followers on Instagram. But in the last two posts, it got over 5 million views combined. And I thought back of what I did to get those views. It's so lame. One of them was a reaction video. One of them was me telling a story. I paraphrased it maybe better than some other people because I talk a lot, but it's not, they're not even my content. It's just me talking or reacting to other people. But it got the most views than if I sat there and really edited and worked on something. 5 million views for 15,000 followers. But I didn't really do anything, so it's like, what talent do I really have? I mean, the talent is I know how to rip people off, I know how to take their content and make it better, so volume, sadly, it's quantity over quality now. It's just keep posting, keep getting out there, and then I posted other videos that didn't do so well, so I delete them, so I don't see the talent's not really there.
Well, yeah, so in a world where AI can create content endlessly, right? What do you see becoming more valuable, right, for creators and entrepreneurs?
like I said, what becomes more valuable is volume. You know what I mean? That's why making, putting more time and effort into putting out more content.
Okay.
It's sad. So it's like, but I tell people that, I was like, because a lot of times they'll look and they'll be like, well, how do I do that? I was like, well, I could tell you. I was like, but you got to listen. I was like, you might not like the answer, but it's like, and I just told a friend of mine, she's a DJ, she's a former playmate. And then she's like, I got all this music and everyone's telling me, wait till it's perfect. She's like, I think I'm just going to put it out. And I was like, put it out. Put that music out. Then put another song out. And then put another song. You know what I mean? Stop sitting on it. And then she did.
Right.
And now it's doing really well. And it's like, just stop thinking about it. Start posting and develop thick skin, and keep posting more.
In that sense, I think that's a good advice. It's never going to be perfect. At some point, you got to produce and move on. But circling back, it sounds like leveraging AI then to increase the amount of content you can put out is probably a pretty solid play.
Yeah. That's the best thing you could do is observe and see what other people are doing. Like I have a friend who does a podcast, and then he posts and he's like, "Oh, dude, we did our first podcast together. It's getting a lot of views." And then I made a thumbnail for him, which took a second. I don't think he doesn't do a lot with AI. And I was like, dude, add this thumbnail to your YouTube and watch. And it's just a shocking, like thumbnail with, and it's attention grabbing. Other than that, it's just a still of two people. And then the views went up. And I was like, well, that's just part of, I'm constantly looking what people are doing. And it only takes a second now. I was a terrible graphic designer for many years. And now I don't need to be, and it's putting people out of business. So the best thing you could do is watch and kind of take other people's ideas and make them better. It's sad, but it wasn't my idea to make AI thumbnails, but I saw someone else doing it and it works,
Right. What's sort of the balance though? I mean, a bunch of, when I see a bunch of AI artificial content, I start to check out because it's not authentic. So you can create more content with AI. So do you have advice on how to use AI properly?
Yeah, that's a great question. Is that we're all going to get AI fatigue, and that's what it is, because I already know it's endless. What is not endless is if you make a video giving advice like what you do and saying, hey guys, we all have daily life, like where, here's some things that worked for me that we're thinking outside the box. AI is the box. You know what I mean? It's always going to give you the most mainstream answer. You do something in business that other people haven't thought of, and then you share it, and that's what people need to hear. Whether it's advice, whether it's motivation, whether it's comedy or entertainment. Sometimes I make typos in my emails just to prove that it's me. You know what I mean? Like it's like, and it's a weird thing that we've gotten into where I'm just like, hey, like, hi Tim, hope you're having a great day today. And then it's like, oh, so you didn't write it. You didn't read my letter. You're just, it's just two bots talking to each other, So I think that's the best thing you can do is realize that we are human and we're trying to make things work, and AI is not going to come up with some crazy idea. Even if it's off the wall, if we need people to try things that haven't been done before, and AI is not going to be able to help you with that.
What have you learned from interviewing highly successful people, right, that applies to businesses and life outside of entertainment?
I think that what I've learned the most is that I try to sometimes get them into these questions where I'll ask them, like if I ask you, like, who do you think is overrated in as a singer or as an artist or whatever, you might have some ideas. What I realize about successful people and high profile people is they have the ability to compliment people. And I realize with people that are incredibly insecure and that aren't as successful, they can never give anyone their flowers, because they're insecure, because they feel like a failure. People that I've interviewed, they don't like talking negatively about other people who are successful. They're like, no, I think, hey, if it's not someone I like or listen to or watch, but I'm happy for them. Like they don't want to knock you down because they're secure, they don't need to. Right. Yeah, they're secure. So I noticed that even like with my friends who struggle in business, and I was like, dude, what is your problem? You can't compliment them. Never. Everything that comes out of your mouth is negative. It's the most it's just really, and I'm not picking on you. It's like, it's the most insecure thing I've ever seen, is that you can't compliment anyone. I was like, so, and successful people don't do that,
Right. I
so
think Denzel Washington said something to that effect, something about critique. All the critiques are people beneath you, right? And everybody
yeah,
above you is cheering for you and trying to.
that's true. Yeah. And that's why you think of someone, like if you're, it's a great thing to sit there and say that, I'm secure enough to compliment you. It's like, I'm not like your podcast. I know that you don't, you're starting. I saw you're on an episode. I don't know how many episodes that you've done, but it's like, I wouldn't sit there and slam your podcast. Like, well, you don't have as many views as me. It's like, well, it would be a really insecure thing to do. You're
Right.
interviewing me, who's a nobody. I have people on, that are notable, like more notable. And it's like, it's, if you feel the need to put someone down, I would only do that if you were in the same boat as me. You're like, hey, I'm in Phoenix. I've interviewed A-listers, and you've interviewed, you've like, I've only interviewed D-listers. Then I start to have a hard time complimenting. You know what I'm saying? Like, where it's like,
Sure.
now I don't know how much I like you. You know what I mean? And then it'd be like, well, that guy pays, like, he gives him $5,000. Like, I would start making up, who knows? Like, I'll start making up rumors because I'm jealous, So it's like, and that's what I'm saying is people that are successful, they don't hold that jealousy because they're confident in what they've done. So yeah.
Right. So on that note, not just confident but happier, right? The people at the top that you've been able to interview, fame and influence, do you think they're generally happier than maybe an average person would expect them to be?
I don't actually. No, I
Okay.
don't. I have a phrase. Being a publicist for 20 years and working with celebrities, I have a phrase of that money or fame is more difficult, much more difficult to manage than money. Being famous, you have money, and you advise people on where to invest. There's a lot of people like you. It's very helpful, So if I become wealthy tomorrow, say, hey, Tim, what do you think? It's like, oh, you're in luck, Now, if I become famous overnight and it keeps going and going, and then I start saying, hey, Tim, like, I don't know how to handle all these people. Like, everyone's pulling me from different angles. I can't even go out of the house anymore. How do I manage that? You can't get help with that, and it could be very lonely. Nobody understands what you're going through. It's very intrusive. And I don't know if it makes you happier, and I think that's the thing is you help people manage money and you also want money. There's people like myself that are publicists. I help people manage their fame, but I wouldn't want to be them, to a point. I'll take a little attention. But
Right.
even for me, when my show really, and I started getting fans and they started getting kind of weird, it was like I started backing out. Like, I don't want to do this. Like, you guys are making me uncomfortable, and people would watch where I'm going and kind of dox me and, and like, I say, I don't like it. So I don't think that they're happier. I think that it's a very isolated place at times. Can be. It's everybody's different, but as a whole, that's how I feel.
I meant like happier than you might expect, but you'd say no, they're not happier than you expect. If anything, they're struggling with that situation.
Yeah,
Okay.
I wouldn't say so. I wouldn't say not for fame or money, really. I think happiness it's not measured with those sticks, in my opinion.
Right.
I just moved out here. I'm happier than I've been in a long time. And I'm making, I just spent a lot of money to come out here. I just threw myself out there. So I used a lot of money that I had saved. So it's like I'm less financially secure. I mean, I'm fine, but I'm saying, like, it's, I'm happier because I'm where I want to be in life.
Right.
So, and that's different for everybody, different circumstances,
Right. And one of the measures that I like of happiness is when you see progress towards a worthwhile goal, right, in your life. It's not like you reach the summit and you're happy forever now, right? It's a constant state of
Yeah.
improvement and achieving. So that's great. Speaking of that, what brought you to Scottsdale and Phoenix? They're growing fast, right?
Yeah.
Particular opportunities?
Yeah, pretty much. I was from Buffalo, New York. I lived in California for a while. I was married at the time. She didn't like California, so we moved to her hometown in Lynchburg, Virginia, which is a small town near Roanoke, and I hated it. So I was there for a long time, and it's a small town, and it's fine. It's just not for me. And I came out here to see a girl. There's a lot of women here. Oh, and about 5 or 6 years ago. And then I never really knew anything about Scottsdale. And I was like, I really like it here. There's a lot of New Yorkers, we all go to Florida, and I didn't want to go to Florida. And then I said, if I don't find anywhere better in the next, until my son graduates high school, I was like, I'm going to move to Scottsdale. And I traveled all over, and I know that there are better places. I just love it here. And a lot of people do. Yeah. And I see why everyone's like, he's going to tell people to stop moving here, but I don't think that's going to happen. Yeah.
Yep. Okay. Excellent. So as we wrap things up, you have some exciting initiatives or plans for the next several months. I think you mentioned something about Fan Fusion coming up.
Yeah, I'm going to be. I've made a couple. Appearances. People have given me like some access and some media passes. I went to the bike week up at West World, I think it's called, and then I went to the Princess Resort for some events, and I do a lot with the cigar community here. And then I'm going to go to the Phoenix Fan Fusion. I think it's at the convention center. I don't know. Sorry, I'm trying to learn. But that's coming up in June 5th and 6th, so I'll be going there. And John Cena is going to be there, and a lot of other celebrities. So I appreciate them including me. And yeah, it's been great. When I came to visit, the Diamondbacks gave me tickets if I do like a little influencer collab. So I've been doing some collabs with some restaurants here in town, different businesses, just showcasing what they have in exchange for whatever, so that's been great. And then meeting with a lot of local businesses about how to get their exposure increased. So it seems like it's been, if I went to LA, I'd probably be overshadowed. But here, it seems like a lot of people, I could really help them with their growth. So it's been great. Okay.
Excellent. Thank you, Domenick. Now, if people would like to connect with you and learn more about that stuff, where can they go? What should they do?
Yeah. I have a website, DomenickNati.com or NattyCelebs.com. And then my social media is Dom Nati Show, DOMNATISHOW. So yeah, if you spell my name right, if you look up Dom Nati, you should be able to find me. Pretty easy to find. And then I try to respond to as much as I can, even if people that hit me up on Instagram, stuff like that. So yeah, I'd love to speak with you.
Excellent. All right. Well, that's all great. Thank you, everyone, for listening and watching. Thank you very much, Domenick Nati, for joining me today, and appreciate your insights into the industry. That's fun stuff.
That's right. Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Inspired by our guests? Visit PhoenixProsperityPodcast.com/guest and join us on the show and share your success story with Tim. The spotlight awaits.